Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Rosine, the Environmental Programs Manager for the City of Malibu. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be here today for our Building Code virtual meeting. As you may know, every 3 years, the City of Malibu adopts the state codes as amended by LA County. The new codes will become effective on January 1st of 2023. This virtual meeting is designed to give building professionals and homeowners an idea of what to expect. This meeting is informational only, and we are requesting that you please send your questions and comments to mbuilding@malibucity.org or call City Hall and leave a message at extension 390. I've also placed that information in the chat box. Hopefully you can see that. And at that point, we'll be able to, or that way you'll be able to follow up afterwards, and the information will remain up in front of you the whole meeting. And now, I'd like to introduce you to the city's building official, who most of you probably already know, Yolanda Bundy. Yolanda has been with Malibu for just about 4 years, and in her time here, she's doubled the productivity of the building division, supervising the issuance of over 7,500 permits and over 4,000 plan reviews. Yolanda has signed 152 certificates of occupancy, and 110 of those being Woolsey Fire rebuilds. With a bachelor's degree in engineering and a master's in structural engineering, she has an extensive knowledge of the codes. Yolanda has been recognized as Building Official of the Year for both her work in Malibu and the Ventura County areas. We're proud to have her here and on our team, and excited for her to be presenting to us today. Yolanda, I'm going to pass it off to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you everyone for making the time to join us this afternoon. This presentation will cover the code adoption process, and it will provide you with highlights of the new changes to the building code, the residential code, and the energy code. Next slide, please. Let's go over the adoption process. Section 17958 mandates the California Building Standard Commission adopts and publish the California Building Standard Codes. This is what we call Title 24. These codes changes happen every 3 years. The 22 edition will be coming to effect January 1st of 2023. Next slide, please. This standard building codes consist of multiple volumes pertaining to the building's structural, energy, green, building code, plumbing, electrical, and mechanical systems. These codes are organized in 12 parts. Next slide. The 2022 California Building Standards Code has its origins on the 2021 International Building Code. The building code follows the International Building Code. The plumbing code follows the Uniform Building Code. The electrical code follows the National Electrical Code. Next slide. After the state of California releases the California Building Standards, our local government must pass ordinance adopting the codes by reference, which we normally amend in accordance to the local conditions. In order to provide our community with locally applicable, efficient, and for this regional standards, the city of Malibu, along with other local cities, adopt the state codes as amended by Los Angeles County codes. Next slide. The building codes are adopted at the state level and are enforced by local jurisdictions. This is with the exemption of the public schools and local hospitals. Each local building jurisdiction may amend the state codes, providing their amendments to be more stringent based on the findings justified by climatic, geological, topographical, or environmental conditions of the jurisdictions. As you know, our city has a few and important unique findings, such as earthquake faults, expansive soils, unstable hillsides, heavy mudslides, hillsides. We have oceans. We also have high temperatures, low humidities, high winds because we are so close to the ocean, and we have also a marine environment. Next slide. For consistency with other county cities, Los Angeles Basin, Malibu has joined efforts with other local city building departments to examine the previous and the proposed amendments. The goal of this is to minimize the difference in code language and in interpretation, thereby unifying and streamlining the permitting and construction processes. The city will be presenting at our council meeting our code adoption on December 12th of 2022. Next slide. During this adoption process, the building, the residential, the electrical, the plumbing, mechanical, and building and green building codes will be proposed to be amended. We will adopt as reference the energy, the administrative code, the historical building code. And it is also my understanding that the fire code is still being adopted by the county. Therefore, the city will adopt the state code in the interim. Next slide. So let's go spend some time on the highlights of the significant changes to this mandate. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, my concentration on this day will be on the building code, the residential code, and the energy code. Please understand that there is also changes to the plumbing code, to the electrical code, to the mechanical code, to the existing building code that we will not be spending time on this today. Next slide. One of the biggest changes on the California building code is work that's exempt from permitting. As you know, one-story detached accessory structures are exempt from permitting, providing that the area is less or equal to 120 square feet. The new change for this code cycle is that even though these structures are exempted from permit, they may need to comply with the provisions of Chapter 7A. And I will cover that information in the next slides. Understand that under this provision, there could be the necessity to permit structures less than or equal to 150 if they are within the requirements of Chapter 7A. Next slide. The other change that is important for the community to know is this under the Building Standards Commission scope of administrative section 105.5.1, the expiration of a permit. And this is important because I get a lot of calls and our counter techs also get a lot of calls. So new sections have changed the expiration from 180 days to 12 months. This includes a provision stipulating that every permit shall remain valid if the work on the site authorized by the permit is commenced within 12 months after the issuance of the permit. Therefore, this new law authorizes the applicant to request an extension of the permit, and the building official may grant in writing one or more extensions as for increments of 180 days. Next slide. A few new definitions has been added to Chapter 2 of the California Building Code. I will not go over all of them, but one important that is to mention is the structural members. Now we will have a new clarification of categorizing small members as either primary or secondary structural members, where the members are essentially to the vertical stability of the primary structure frame under the gravity load. They are considered primary structural members. Next slide. Another big change that is happening on this code cycle is the incorporation of mass timbers all throughout the California Building Code different chapters. A new definition has been added under Chapter 2. So mass timbers as structural elements of type 4 construction, primarily made of solid, build-up, panelized, or engineered wood products that meet the minimum cross-section dimensions of type 4 construction. There's new combustible protections for these mass timbers under Chapter 7, specifically dictated on 703.6, designated to increase the fire resistance rating and delayed the combustions of this mass timber. Next slide. Chapter 3 is a chapter that describes occupancy classifications and uses. One of the important changes, and this was important because this new term is coming over and over on the residential code, on the energy code, is energy storage systems. Energy storage systems are not, when dedicated in a used buildings, are listed as a group F1. Is not considered an H occupancy, which is a hazardous. It's also not considered an incidental use as it was previously defined on table 509.1 of the building code. Next slide. As I mentioned before, mass timber has made significant changes to what we're seeing in the building code. I am not covering Chapter 4 or Chapter 5 due to the timing, but also because these chapters are normally used in new construction in multifamily with high-rise, industrial, commercial. But I will mention to you briefly that in the new changes for Chapter 4, which is a special detail requirements and base occupancy loads, there has been new information added for floor surfaces in parking garages. There's also mechanical access for enclosed parking garages. There's also more information for enclosure or atriums. So design professionals that are involved on more complex projects, maybe in another jurisdictions, I would recommend that they will follow those changes. Chapter 5 is our general chapter that talks about height requirements and area. There's changes to fire separation using mass timber, also stairways in podium construction, and the unlimited area building table on section 506.3.3.1 has also been changed. Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is your type of construction chapter. Under this chapter, mass timber has been integrated in this chapter. Please note that section 602.4 has now been subdivided to include mass timber construction. We will have a type 4, and that before we had a type 4 construction, now we have added type 4A, type 4B, type 4C, and type 4 high timber. Type 4A is your mass timber with the structural members that are protected as followed by the chapter 7. Type 4B is mass timber with limited portions of the interior members unprotected. Type 4C is mass timber with exposed interior elements. And then you have your traditional type 4 high timber, which is your heavy timber construction. Next slide, please. Under chapter 6, also furthermore, there is mass timber construction for type 4A construction with exterior walls protected. They can have a 40-minute fire resistant construction. Also, interior walls that are protected following chapter 7, they can also achieve an 80-minute fire resistance protection. Type 4B constructions are also exterior walls protected with a minimum of 40 minimum fire rating and interior walls with 80 minimum fire resistance. And then again, your type 4C constructions, there's no added fire resistance. Why am I mentioning this? Just because we see a lot of heavy timber and multifamily projects but I'm thinking this is also a new material that is possibly is going to be started to be used in our more complex single family residence. So just highlighting this for the community and also highlighting this for the design professionals. The industry is really making a push for this new, not new material, but new component. Next slide, please. And continue the conversation with heavy timber. Special inspections for mass timbers has been added to Chapter 17 of the Building Code. Periodic inspection will be required for sealing and adhesive use in mass timber construction to protect joints and fire resistance rating building elements. So I'm making a note again, special inspection when we have fire rating building elements. Next slide. This is an important chapter just because it deals, as Chapter 7A, deals with the materials and the construction methods for exterior wildfire exposure, which all of the city of Malibu is located on. The state fire marshals and CAL FIRE has made an effort in joining effort with the Building Standard Commission to continue providing features. And as they're learning from different wildfires, they're incorporating new ways to prevent for exterior methods in these areas that we have wildfire exposure. They have been adding specific definitions under Chapter 7A, 702A, Fire Protection Plan. Definition has been amended to be aligned more with the fire code. As you know, the materials and construction methods for exteriors wildfire exposure, it's not only occurring, this legislation doesn't also occur on the building code, but it is located on the residential code under section R337, and it's also part of the fire code on Chapter 49. So even though we have three different standards, the three different standards follow verbatim, and they have the exact language on their regulations. So the Building Standard Commission are trying to align everything so there is no discrepancy on interpretation and also questions when something is being designed. The other item that has been added is fire resistant vegetation. A new definition of plants less likely to ignite that contribute heat or flame or spread flame has been added. There also has been added a list of resources for more information about the type of plants that are allowed to be, that are fire resistant under this vegetation. As you know, the city of Malibu, when we have a project, they go through the fire department for their fuel mod. So we will still continue working with them, and this is just for your information. There's this new list of plans. The next item that has been added on this section is under ignition resistant construction. We had that section before. The only new item that has been added is that testing the standards for wood structural panels. There has been added a fire testing for wood structural panels. As we are evolving as we are evolving, new materials are coming. So the state wants to make sure, and the fire state marshals, that they do have comply with the requirements set for ignition resistance. So please follow that portion of the code, 704-8.3.1. Next slide. Under the materials and construction methods, and this is something that I started talking at the beginning of the conversation on accessory structures and structures that do not require a permit because they're less than 120 square feet. Knowing that this type of structures can also create some kind of ignition, the state fire marshal has provided specifics with now having this accessory structures needs to conform with these sections. So where are they required to comply with this? This section is under 710A as an apple, .3. It has been amended, and also subsection has been created that organize everything categorizes by distances from the applicable building and mandate enforcement of buildings greater than 120 square feet. So I wanted to go over this specific section just because this is something that we all need to pay attention to it, since this was an item that was never covered under the building code. So I'm just going to read the section 710A.3. So it talks about where is required for these accessory dwelling units to comply with this chapter. So miscellaneous structures that require a permit, or accessory buildings of any size that they're separated from the applicable buildings on the same lot by a distance of between 3 feet shall comply with all of this section. Also, accessory buildings that are greater than 120 square feet when separated from the applicable building were between 3 feet or more than 50 feet, they also shall comply with this requirement. So any accessory buildings more than 120, now they are between the main house, between 3 and 50 feet, they will need to comply. So just pay attention to that. It has an exemptions for accessory dwellings or accessory structures that are more than 50 feet from the main structure. So if you're more than 50 feet, you don't need to comply with the requirements of this code on Chapter 7A. And what I'm talking about on Chapter 7A is the special requirements for your roof construction. So it needs to be Class A fire rating construction. Your exterior walls, make sure that they are also a fire ignition prevention, and also no eaves on the roof. If there is any windows, they must have the dual tempered glazing. So all of these requirements will also apply to any accessory buildings located between 3 and 50 feet from the main building. So keep that in mind. That is a big change. And also, when you are providing your plans, make sure that we're going to be asking for setback regulations on those type of structures, any type of structure that is between 3 and 50 feet. Next slide. I am not going to cover the rest of the California Building Code. The next one will be Chapter 8 that talks about interior finishes. Chapter 9, that is your fire sprinklers requirements. Those are regulated specifically by our LA Fire Department, County Department, and also Chapter 10 that talks about your exiting. Chapter 11 talks about your accessibility for multifamily projects and also for commercial projects. We don't have the time to go specifically on all of them, since the majority of the stock of structures built here in the city are residential. I'm trying to concentrate in the portions of the residential that is going to provide the community with more information. So now we'll start with the California Residential Code changes. The residential code changes also they're aligned with the building code. Remember that we talk about expiration of permits. So now section R105.5.1 is also talking about the permits are, there used to be expiring 180 days. Now they have 12 months to expire. So providing again, stipulated that every permit shall remain valid if the work and the size is authorized by a permit, needs to commence within 12 months after the issuance of that permit. Next slide. New definitions has been added to the residential code also. I'm not gonna be reading all of them, but just know that now we have a specific definition for child care. They have been aligning it now with Title 22 for Social Security reasons, and also with and more consistency with the California Code of Regulations. Daycare definition has been also added, amended to specify that the time period for the care of the person is not more than 24 hours. And it's also consistent with Title 22 for Social Security. And then one that it really caught my attention, inflatable amusement devices. This is a new term to specify characteristics of inflatable structures that need to be properly constructed and anchored. So just know that this definition is now there and is asking the building departments to make sure that when we have these inflatable amusement devices that they need to be properly anchored. So kind of just keep that on your mind. Next slide, please. Photovoltaic is also a definition that has been expanded to be more consistent with the building code and with the fire code. A photovoltaic panel system, grounded mounted, has a new define, as I mentioned, just to be more consistent with those chapters. Photovoltaic support structures that are elevated has been defined now as a term. We are seeing all types of photovoltaic systems, not only on top of our homes, but there's also there's structures that are supporting the photovoltaic structures, and now they're becoming parking underneath. So a new term has been defined to accommodate a new evolution of our construction. And then one more item has been added, a definition for what is a toddler, because this has to do with the child care and daycare definitions. Next slide. One of the biggest changes that I have seen on the residential code, and I want to spend more detail going over this. Yesterday, I was talking to an architect, and he mentioned there is a lot of conversation on the community because people are attending webinars and new things are coming up. So I want to just make the time to explain exactly what is the state of California doing with this item. And this is a whole new section on the residential code that I really want everybody to pay attention. If one thing you can remember out of this is this section, R327, aging in place design and fall protection. This was added a new section to address a specific aging in place design elements and new residential construction to facilitate the access to operational features and to allow people to stay longer in their homes as they're aging. So as I mentioned, we will go one by one. The way it's worded, it seems like it's a lot more complex and a lot more complicated than what it is, but it's the state of California just making efforts. We're barely on the early stages on this code being on this section of the code being more elaborated. But next slide. So everything started with Senate Bill 280 back in 2019. Again, to provide with requirements within the code where people can use their home at the late ages. So aging in place, design and fall prevention. Again, new is only applies to new constructed dwellings subject to the requirements of this code. This shall be designated and constructed according to all of the sections of this code. This will impact all of our new single-family dwellings, also our duplex, also our accessory dwelling units. So just make a note of this. The exemptions is if you are part of the covered multifamily dwellings, then you will follow Chapter 11A of the California Building Code. If you are a public housing, again, a multifamily public housing, the accommodations they need to follow 11B of the California Building Code, and know that 11A and 11B are similar in what the state is proposing for multifamily purposes only. Next slide. So again, it applies to single family dwellings or duplex, accessory dwelling units submitted on or after January 1st of 2023. So anything that is under construction is not going to apply. It applies to new plans that are submitted to the building department on or after January 1st of 2023. Next slide. So let's go one by one. The biggest provision is the installation of reinforcement for grab bars. So this section is stated that at least one bathroom and on the entry level shall provide with reinforcement installed in accordance to this section. When there is no bathroom on the entry level, at least one bathroom on the second or third floor of the dwelling unit shall comply with this section. So there's a graphic next that you can see, and the graphics show a garage on the first level, and the main. Then we have a second level, and it seems like they don't have a bathroom on the second level, so your third floor will need to comply with those provisions. So kind of know that the state is requiring only one bathroom at the entry level, but when you don't have a bathroom on the entry level, one bathroom either on the second or third level shall comply with this reinforcement for grab bars. So let's make it clear, it's reinforcement for grab bars. Next slide, please. So what is this reinforcement for grab bars? It is reinforcement that shall be solid lumber or other construction materials approved by the building department. This reinforcement should not be less than 2x8, which is not a nominal lumber. Other construction materials also need to provide equal height and also low capacity. So is the installation of blocking around the water closet shall be installed both sides on the walls of the fixtures, and one side wall and one in the back wall. So the requirements for this blocking needs to be installed on water closet, one around both sides of the walls of the fixtures, or one side on the wall and one on the back. And there's an illustration there for you. Next slide. There's a specific dimensions on where the blocking needs to be installed, 32 inches to 39.25. Again, on the side portion of the wall or on the real wall. There's also requirements to add this type of blocking on bathtubs and shower. Next slide. So shower reinforcement shall be continuous where the wall framing is provided. There is an example there. So it's a blocking all around the The bathtub. The bathtub in combination with bathtub and shower reinforcement shall be continuous on each end of the bathtub and the back wall. Additionally, back wall reinforcement for a lower grab bar shall be provided with the bottom edge located no more than 6 inches above the bathtub. So just make a note of that too. And I know I'm reading, and what I want to do is post the PDF of all the slides so you can have it for your reference. I'm hoping that all of you that you are design professionals, that you're already buying your codes and getting acquainted with the new changes. But let's continue. Next slide. And just another example for your shower reinforcement, the shower blocking, and the distance where they need to be located from the bottom of the floor, 32 inches to 39 1/4, as you can see it. Next slide. But there's some exemptions to having this blocking requirement, right? So if when we have a water closet that it does not have an adjacent sidewall capable of accommodating this grab bar, the provision is to have a floor mounted similar or an alternated grab bar reinforcement by the approved enforcing agencies. So that could be an alternative when you don't have a sidewall wall next to the water closet. There's also an exemption when people buy a prefabricated shower enclosure or bathtub. There's no requirement to add the blocking, because the state is requiring that when this prefabricated shower enclosures are bought, that they must integrate the grab bars, and that will give you an exemption to this rule. Also, shower enclosures do not permit the installation. There will be shower enclosures that you cannot put any installation of reinforcement or grab bars should be permitted, such as when you have concrete walls, right? So you would not need to put this because it loses all purposes. And then the bathtubs with no surrounding walls, they would not be requiring this. So as I mentioned, this is one of the biggest changes, but it's blocking. So it's something that contractors are going to be able to do this easily. So I don't think this is a impact that is going to create challenges during construction. One thing that I'm asking when you submit a plan to us, please designate the bathroom, because in our jurisdiction, you might have 2 or 3 bathrooms on the first floor. So designate which bathroom you will be adding these requirements, make it clear during the plan check, so we can do a review accordingly. Next slide. The other item that has been added is electrical receptacles, outlets, switches, and control heights. This was already part of the Chapter 11A and Chapter 11B for your accessibility components, and a lot of people call it ADA. So electrical receptacles, outlets, switches, and controls, including controls for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning intended to be used by the occupants, should be located no more than 48 inches measured from the top of the outlet box and not less than 15 inches measured from the bottom of the outlet box above the finished floor. So again, remember, the location of this receptacles is something possible we're going to have a note on their plan check, but at the type of construction, contractors might need to follow this, and our inspectors will also need to be verifying the location of this electrical receptacles, outlets, switches, and control heights. Next slide. And there's exemptions to this too, right? When you have a dedicated receptacle outlet, floor receptacle outlet, or a ceiling mounted fan or control located for appliances, this high requirement does not apply. Receptacle outlets also required by the California Code, by the California Electrical Code on a wall space where the distance between the finished floor and the building feature about the floor is such as that you have a window or less than 15 inches, then this does not apply and it's exempted. So keep an eye, and this will apply more for the construction portion of it. Next slide. This would not take into effect the beginning of the year, but it does take into effect on July 1st of 2024. So again, any plans submitted on or after July 1st of 2024 must comply with this requirement. So at least one bathroom on the entry level shall be provided with a door with a net opening of 32 inches, measuring with the door position and with an angle of 90 degrees. Again, this will be for dwelling units. And so not only for the entrance for the bathroom and one bedroom on the entry level. So the entry level, 32 inches minimum, effective July 1st of 2024. And this is for plans that are submitted to the building department on or after July 1st of 2024. So this will not take into effect immediately, but this will be one of the items that we need to continue checking at the mid of the year. Next slide. And then doorbell buttons, right? Doorbell buttons and controls were installed shall not exceed 48 inches above the exterior floor of the landing, measuring from the top of the doorbell button assembly. Where the doorbell button is integrated in the feature and other features, and they're required to be installed about 48 inches, measured from the exterior floor of the landing. A standard doorbell button or control should be provided at the height of 48 inches. So just keep in mind, the state of California is also wanted not only to take care of the future blocking for grab bars, the location of your receptacles, but also doorbell buttons at every single family residence, and that is the height of 48 inches. Next slide. So this section of the code culminates with saying that documentation for grab bars needs to be that is information and or drawings identifying the location of the grab bar reinforcement shall be placed in the operation and maintenance manual in accordance with the California Green Building Code, Chapter 4, Division 4.4. So what do we come with this operation manual? 2017, the state of California Green Building Code started mandating that every home that is built, they need to have their maintenance operation manual in order for the occupants of the home, or when the home is sold, they know exactly what has been added and what are the components and features of the house. So under the residential code, they're asking to provide that location of those grab bars and reinforcement for future, for people to know exactly what those bars are located if they need to add those grab bars. So I think one made this very clear. A grab bar is not required. It's only required the grab bar reinforcement, which is the blocking. So as I mentioned when I started talking about this section, it's not something that I see that is going to be complicated. And so I think it's pretty doable. Next slide. now we have the energy code. Under the energy code, there's a lot of changes that are going to affect single family residents. And I got the slides from the California Energy Commission because I wanted to make sure that I am communicating directly to the community and to the architects and contractors and whoever is joining us this afternoon, exactly where this is coming from. So the State of California Energy Commission has put out this a statement, right? Their goal is to increase the building energy efficiency and cost effectiveness. They're talking about we need to contribute to the California greenhouse gas reduction goals for the state of California. And they are, the state also is wanting to enable a pathway for all electrical buildings. The other item is to reduce residential building impacts on the electricity grid. And they are promoting also photovoltaic, and they are talking about providing the local government with REACH codes. So what is a REACH code? A REACH code is in which one of the jurisdiction will ask everybody to be on an electrical building only. Want to make it really clear to all of you that this is now where our jurisdiction is going as of today. As this new code building adoption, we are adopting the minimum code requirements. And at this time in California, it's not mandatory for jurisdiction to adopt an all electrical building REACH code. So that's not where we're going. Some of the reason on this that I'm not pushing for this is we don't have the infrastructure, and it will take us time to get there. So we are adopting the minimum codes, and I will show you exactly what I mean by what is the minimum that the state of California is requiring. Next slide. So under the Energy Building Code that is effective on January 1st of 2023, for any building application that we see, the software that needs to be used is the 2022 software and form. So make sure when you are submitting plans for our review that you are incorporating these new standards. Otherwise, you will get a correction. So just wanted to highlight that for you. The manuals and the information for the software is under the Energy Building Commission, and that's what I wanted to take this slides exactly from their website. Next slide. Again, the performance approach must comply with within an approved compliance software version. For single-family dwelling, it needs to be for CBECC Residential 2022.1.0. This is when you're doing your Title 24 documents. It needs to be done under this software version. This is also one of the items that our building plan checkers and myself will be looking for when you submit your plans and when you're using your performance approach for your Title 24 documents. So make a note of it. I am not going to go over the non-residential multifamily, but that is the information also. Next slide. For single family, significant changes for the energy code. Next slide. This is a definition under the Energy Commission for a single family dwelling. It's an occupancy group R3, 2 or less dwelling units, non-multifamily hotels or motels. It is a townhouse with an occupancy group of R3.1. It also applies to occupancy group U on residential sites. Next slide. Another big item that changed under the energy code is a mandatory U factor that is more stringent. The maximum U factor for all climate zones are 0.45. So make a note when you're doing a window change out, when you submitted plans for a new home or any alteration, a maximum of U factor of 0.45 will be required for your fenestration products. Next slide. Lighting. Under lighting, we have a new updated on 2022. Your ceiling recessed down lighting needs to be luminaires that comply with the California Electrical Code, and they're providing us with a section for 10.116. They also are adding more to indoor lighting controls. Is add an auto-off control for lighting in drawers and cabinets. We didn't have this before. We had dimmer lights on the bathrooms. We also had an auto off on bathrooms, but now it's being added on our lighting and drawers and cabinets that happen on your closets or on your kitchen. So just be aware of that. Under shelf display cabinets, switches, outlet control separate for the lighting. They're also asking for this auto off control, and it adds exemptions when you have dimming control lighting. So another requirement that being more stringent than we had before. Next slide. Duct insulation. Duct insulations to be compliant with R 6.0. And there's some exemptions, and I'm not going to read everything, but I wanted to give you this just because that is important information. Next slide. Again, under your air distribution and ventilation system ducts, there's mandatory requirements. There's a specific air filtration that clarifies the makeup air systems that must comply with the supply ventilation systems. So just know that that is there too. Next slide. And it also talks about ventilation and mandatory requirements. There's now a central fan integrated ventilation system. The new added requirements will have an outdoor air dampers, damper control, variable ventilation controls, and everything is just to keep everything within the unit. Next slide. This is regarding the ventilation and requirements for your exhaust fans. Right now is required on our vented ranges hood, but now they have added enclosed kitchen, non-enclosed kitchens, bathrooms. There's more specifics on what the airflow needs to be. Not only on the kitchen, but it also on the bathroom. So this table has also been changed. Next slide. And then your HERS verification. This is all your documents after you complete the installation, the testing that needs to be provided to the building department. The whole dwelling unit will be required to be HERS verified. So just keep that in mind. And then I'm not going to go over the rest of the items, but just for your information. Next slide. And then the biggest change of all, right? I mentioned at the beginning of the energy update that the city is not going to go with the all electrical buildings, but needs to follow the minimum code requirements for the state of California. And the minimum code requirements are these electrical ready mandatory requirements for single family residents. Water heating system, if using gas or propane, there needs to be a designated space for future heat pump water heater, at least 2.5 feet by 2.5 and 7 feet tall. If it's within 3 feet of the water heater, then we have specifics for the conduit and also for the labeling that needs to be done on the main panel. So this is really critical. If you are putting a water system that is using gas, you will note it on the plans. But in addition to that, you need to provide the infrastructure for a later connection to the electrical panel. Next slide. And then just a graphic that I really enjoy. Well, I really like this graphic because it puts everything on what we need to do. It shows where the reserve panel breaker space needs to be labeled for the future connection. It shows the dimensions that are required. It shows what if I had a gas meter, a gas water heater. Where do I put this this new receptacle? And so they are designating specifics on that. So this is I will say this is also a critical graph that you may want to add on your notes or for your contractors to know what the new requirements are. Next slide. Again, another water heater pump, the location and the double pole breaker that is going to be for future use. Another graph that is important for everyone to know. Next slide. And then this is not new, but it has been on the code, but now it has been added more requirements. Your energy storage systems ready. So every home is required to have energy storage systems ready. At least one shall be provided. Your energy storage batteries as your battery backup should be interconnected with the equipment with a minimal backup capacity of 60 amps. It should have a dedicated raceway from the main service to the sub panel that supplies branch circuits. And it should identify at least 4 branch circuits for emergency use, such as providing you with supply for your refrigerator, for your lighting near the front door, or one outlet in your bedroom. So it really is getting us prepared in case of an emergency. We will have this battery backup, and at least we'll have supplies for refrigerators, some lighting on the front, and some outlets that will be able to get the current for the bedroom. Next slide. Again, another important graphic to keep in mind for location distances and how do you work with putting it through the sub panel. The sub panel shall include all the backup load circuits. So make sure that we were going to be reviewing that during our plan check. Next slide. And another energy storage ready graphic from the main panel, and also important for me to share this with you. Next slide. And continue talking about electrical ready mandatory requirements also, right? So it's not only having your battery backup, having your water heaters that are gonna be electric ready, but it's also talking about your electric ready cooktop. So your stoves needs to, if you're using gas, it's good, but you need to, if it's a new home, you need to provide the infrastructure. So eventually this could be a cooktop that is electrical. It also adds requirements for electrical clothes dryer ready. And this is the new language on the code, electric ready. So please get used to that terminology. This is, as I said, new mandatory measurements, minimum mandatory measurements for the state of California. And we, as a city, we will only be concentrating on this minimum requirements. The electric clothes dryers even has the distance, and it seems like all of the termination needs to be within 3 feet. So again, another slide that is going to be very important for you to keep an eye. Next slide. I took this also out of the Energy Commission just because it's just a good way on how they're wording things out. They're talking about vented ranges hood, how do they meet the requirements, and is talking about that gas rangers will require more ventilation than electrical rangers, and you all know that, but I just kind of want to share that with you. Next slide. And this is also another one that that is very important for me to mention today, is that photovoltaic requirement is for all new constructed single family residents. And this also include your accessory dwelling units or second units. So your installation of ADU should comply with any new build single family dwellings, as the definition states at the beginning of the presentation that I did. Unless the PV system is less than 1.8 kilowatts. Next slide. So what is ahead for us, right? We have Assembly Bill 970. 970 talks about electrical vehicle charging stations permitted in application approval. We have a current law that requires every city, county, and city to expedite a streamlined permitting process for electrical vehicle charging stations. This will be adopted, and it's going to be presented the ordinance is going to be presented to council on December 12, 2022. Next slide. So what is this bill talks about? AB 970, it talks about for a station, 25 station of viewers, when this is more for your commercial properties, where they want to put new electrical vehicle charging stations. The state of California is requiring that every jurisdiction should streamline the process and making it a 5-day after the application is submitted for us to complete our first plan check review. Our first turnaround time will be 5 days. And if there's something that it has 26 units or more, our first turnaround time for plan check review will be 10 days. We'll be adopting this on presenting to council on December 12th. So along with the building codes. Next slide, please. So AB 970 states that every jurisdiction with a population of 200,000 or less shall comply by January 1st of 2023. And that is a reason why we're going to council on that. Next slide. SB 68 is another Senate bill that talks about building electrification and electrical vehicle charging. This existing this new bill is with the potential the state is pursuing this to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases for the state residential and commercial building stock, but at least 40% below the 1900 level by January 1st of 2030. So why did I put this is that the Energy Commission in the next 3 years and in the following years are going to be more stringent on going electrical building only. As I mentioned right now, we're going with the minimum requirements. So let's summarize that. Your water heaters, your cooktop, and your laundry. Those are the three appliances that if you have gas, in addition, you will need to have the infrastructure for electrical ready. And I think I went over my time. It's 2:15. I appreciate you going through all of the changes of the code and knowing that there's a lot more things coming out. my intent and my goal is to continue having this webinars, and I'm hoping also that after the emergency state is lifted by the state of California on February, we can have a more possibly a town hall meeting going over specifics and also our processes, and just getting back to normal on how we can help you with all of your applications, and how we can help the community with their homes, and how we can be more efficient in the way we do things. I appreciate your afternoon, and have a great day.
Thank you very much, everyone. I just want to remind you to please post your questions or email your questions or comments to mbuilding@malibucity.org. I've also put that in the chat box. So if you go ahead and open up your chat box, you should be able to see that information. So again, questions and comments to mbuilding@malibucity.org, or leave a message at extension 390.
And we're going to be posting this PowerPoint. I want to put it on a PDF, and then you can also, because I did spend a lot of hours putting this together, and I really want you guys to take advantage. And like I said, there's still a lot more to learn and a lot more to share. And I look forward to seeing you in here on the building and safety counter, and anything that you need, questions or anything, you guys have my email address. I hope to see you soon in here. And anything that I can be help out, or my team can be help out, we're here to serve you and to serve the community. Thank you so much, and I very blessed, and have a happy holidays. And we are going to be here. We're going to be open on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, so we'll be around. And I know a lot of the questions are going to be on the new code update, so please don't hesitate to stop by. Send me an email, or let's continue talking about the new changes, and maybe next time we'll cover the plumbing, mechanical, and electrical, and we'll have more in-depth meetings with the rest of the chapters if some of you have that interest, or in any way that we can continue helping you guys. Like I said, we are a family. We appreciate all of you, your hard work and your dedication, and without you, we cannot exist, and it's the same way. So a lot of respect, and I am just honored to be here helping, and my team too. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, everyone.